My second panelist in this segment is very passionate about lifestyle medicine as well. Dr. Sheela Nambiar is part of the leadership team of doctors in India who are leading the Association of Lifestyle Medicine. And they are part of the Global Alliance of Lifestyle Medicine. She is also a fitness consultant and a practitioner of lifestyle medicine and has wellness fitness program called Training for Life. She is the author of 3 very successful books and has been a TED speaker and has been an excellent speaker on multiple platforms. It's my pleasure to introduce both of them. Dr. Nambiar, hello.
Hi.
Hi. It's great and privileged to have you here on this particular stage. Wanted to get a perspective slightly focused on the India, which is more India centric. Why is diabetes such a epidemic in India?
Yeah, it is an epidemic in India. We have the proud privilege of being the diabetic capital of the world, unfortunately. And I think there are several reasons for it. The primary one being our diet. Even though a lot of Indians are vegetarian, what we mean by vegetarian is not consuming too many vegetables, but consuming a large amount of processed food, sugar, and oil. And I think in addition to that, we are exposed to the Western influence, the fast foods, the pizzas, etc., which are highly prevalent. So a combination of that, in addition to very little exercise, especially today, especially among the younger generation, where the IT segment and office goers, it's a sedentary, completely sedentary. You're sitting in front of your computer all the time. That's the second reason. Lack of exercise, lack of a proper exercise routine. Because what I mean by that is most people think that just walking and maybe a little bit of yoga is sufficient, but I can explain why that's not sufficient. The third reason, of course, is stress and anxiety. And I think, looking at the questions that have come in, the level of stress and anxiety that people are facing today is very, very high, Gautam. And there is enough evidence that stress affects our metabolic health. It can lead to diabetes both directly as well as in indirect manner by encouraging us to have maladaptive behaviors like overeating, reaching for addictive foods, etc., etc. So it's a combination of diet, lack of exercise, and added stress, which I think is the main reason for us being the diabetic capital of the world.
Absolutely. What I think you addressed this a little bit, just wanted to drill a little more. What are the positives and negatives of the Indian diet in your view?
Yeah, yeah, we talk about being vegetarian, but the amount of vegetables that we consume is just way too little in comparison to the huge volumes of processed carbs. So by that I mean a whole lot of processed flour, white rice, a whole lot of sugar, and of course the added oils. And much of this added oil is also recycled oil. So what we need to do is turn our plate around and start to consume more of the vegetables as the main course and have the cereals as a side course and include nuts, beans, and fruit in addition to our vegetables. So the focus should not be on the processed bread cereal group. Whole grains and bread cereal is not bad, but I think the quantities that we consume in India is just way too much. You look at any typical Indian thali, you will see this huge mountain of rice or 4 or 5 rotis. And by the way, millets, ragi, all these things come in the same group. So, we need to be conscious of that. While they have different nutrients, they all belong to the same group. So we tend to consume way more of that and maybe little sprinklings of vegetables, which are also soaked in oil and grease, as add-ons. Instead, we need to reverse it and we need to start with perhaps a raw salad, some soup, and then a whole lot of vegetables. Add the beans, the nuts, seeds, etc., and the bread cereal, which is either the rice roti, as a side dish.
Wonderful. You are a medical doctor, you are a MD. You are also a certified physical trainer.
Yes,
That's a combination which is rare, you know. So
yes.
my next question is related to that. Despite fitness becoming so popular in India, obesity and diabetes rate are still going up. What is the problem?
Yes, fitness and exercise has become, fortunately, it's a good thing. It's become very popular in India. But unfortunately, I don't think people understand that fitness actually has four pillars, which is stamina, strength, flexibility, and endurance. So most people focus on one or the other pillar. So you, at the one end of the spectrum, you have people only participating in cardio. So it's either cycling or running or walking. At the other end of the spectrum, you have people only training with weights. Going to the gym, not practicing any form of cardio or flexibility. So I would advise them to include all the pillars of fitness. So perform some amount of cardio, strength training for sure, which means that you either use external weights like the equipment in the gym, or even your own body weight in order to increase muscle mass. And the third pillar, which is flexibility, can be taken care of using yoga or even simple stretches. Endurance is nothing but long duration, low intensity exercise, long walks, and so on. I'd like to stress a little bit about strength training. I've had people tell me it's such a Western concept, but look, we've taken on and embraced several Western concepts which have not necessarily been beneficial. So I think this is one concept that we really need to embrace. And it's not so Western. I do know that, ancient Indian, the traditional martial arts do include strength training as part of their routine. So we do need to increase muscle mass because Indians inherently are born with sarcopenia or lower muscle mass. And that is one of the reasons that Indians get diabetes at a younger age, and they have a higher level of mortality at a younger age with the same weight. So most Indians, they may not be obese by Western standards, and many Indians believe that being thin or being in the normal weight range exempts them from diabetes, but that's not true at all. So there is this term called TOFI, or thin on the outside, fat on the inside. So, which is the typical Indian physique or phenotype where there is a lot of intra-abdominal fat. So your waist circumference is rather large with thin limbs, upper and lower limbs, and very low body muscle mass. So, in order to reverse that, we do need to increase muscle mass. We do need to strength train, either using external weights or using own body weight. But I would recommend please learn the exercises because chances of injury are high. So please be guided before you start doing that.
Great. So if you have some time in the day, how do you establish a holistic fitness routine? How do you divide your time amongst the four pillars, that you talked of fitness?
Yeah. According to the WHO, 30 minutes, 5 days a week is all that is sufficient, Gautam. I would definitely say we need more than that. I would say at least 40 to 50 minutes, especially for Indians. In that time frame, even 20 minutes of strength training is more than sufficient. 15 to 20 minutes of cardio is sufficient, and the rest of it can include flexibility. Having said that, if you are once you go through the beginner stage and you start getting more advanced in your fitness levels, you can actually combine your cardio and your strength training, which means that you can do the strength training at an intensity where your heart rate is also increased. So lifting faster, lifting heavier, etc. Again, this is only for more advanced uh, um, fitness, recreational exercise enthusiasts. So about 40 minutes, I would say, 6 days a week would be ideal, and strength training for about 20 to 30 minutes in that 40 minutes.
Great. Thank you. We have seen a series of mental health issues and some leading to suicide in the recent past. How does lifestyle medicine help us deal with those situations?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. And I think during this lockdown, I don't know if it's part of the fact that we're all locked down and there is a lot of anxiety and fear, as we know, is the highest contagion. I myself personally know two young, very intelligent men who have ended their lives in the past 1 month, and it is a real tragedy. I think anxiety levels are very high. How does lifestyle medicine play a role? Well, all the pillars that Pankaj talked of, the food, the exercise, the addictions, sleep, stress, and relationships are extremely important for mental health as much as for physical health. We know that the gut microbiome plays an important role for mental health to prevent depression, etc. So, what we eat influences our gut microbiome and therefore influences mental health. Exercise produces endorphins, as we all know, improves mood, helps us puts us in a better frame of mind. Sleep is highly underestimated. Lack of sleep, insomnia, one of the main reasons for depression, even for diabetes. Stress, I mean, coming, like I said, judging from the questions, stress levels are extremely high. So managing stress becomes very, very important. And relationships, in other words, social connectedness, I think is one of the most overlooked aspects of our lives. We all need social connections. And what I mean by that is even if we have one or two authentic relationships in our lives, that really takes us far. We don't need hundreds of friends. Social media creates this illusion that we have more than 1,000 friends on Facebook or however many followers on Instagram. Those are not the authentic relationships that we are seeking. We do need one or two very authentic relationships in our lives. And to the young people out there, I'd also like to say that these authentic relationships have to be cultivated from young age. You really need to nurture them and you need to treasure the fact that you do have nurturing relationships. So, all of these things which we address in lifestyle medicine are extremely important to prevent the mental problems that we are seeing.
Wonderful. What can we do to inculcate positive lifestyle measures? What are the takeaways for the audience for diet, exercise, sleep, and stress?
Well, yeah, diet, like I already mentioned, reverse the proportions, consume more of the vegetables, and completely eliminate sugar and processed food if you can. Exercise, do include strength training and yoga for flexibility. Cardio for about 20 minutes is all that's sufficient. For stress, I would suggest you have lots of apps on your phone, Amazon, Uber, whatever, what have you. Download a good meditation app because it's one of the most effective things that you can introduce into your life. Even 10 minutes of meditation twice a day, even while you're sitting in the car or traveling to work, is highly beneficial. Learn breathing techniques, which again help to mitigate stress in those anxious moments. You may not be able to meditate when you are anxious, so you will need to learn breathing techniques. There are several which help during the time of stress, and yeah, manage your stress, inculcate authentic relationships, nurture your precious relationships. Definitely manage your addictions. Alcohol does not help. It may feel like a relaxant, but it works counterintuitively and is not a relaxant. It does produce further addictive behavior. So does smoking and other addictive substances. Implement these small things. Home cooking. I think we're very fortunate in India that we still practice home cooking, fresh foods. We don't really do we. I mean, we do eat out and we do have several restaurants available, but home cooking is something that I think is a huge benefit to all of us. So, keep the food fresh, know the origin of your food. Don't eat anything that sounds complicated and, is in the back of an ingredient list. of a packaged food product, those additives which we can't even recognize. These are a few small things that you can include. Um, I'll just answer part of that.
Thank
I work with women. I'm a gynecologist by profession. So, as far as women go, I know anxiety and depression are probably the highest ranking mental problems, primarily because of the multitasking that Neetaji was talking about. We expect so much of ourselves, especially if we are working as well as housewives. And I won't say especially, particularly if we are working as well as trying to manage home. The homemakers have a different challenge altogether. So I think the one, again, prioritization is essential. One of the things that I would like to mention, especially with women, is that we are essentially the nutritional gatekeepers of our family. And since nutrition is so important for mental health, including depression, anxiety, etc., eating the right kind of food is very important, which means cooking the right kind of food is very important. So, again, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, all of that is very important. And understanding that yes, we are in a pandemic and there is a lot of anxiety. Uh, the fire is fueled by the media, etc. Try and keep perspective and try and just focus on what we can control and what we can't. And some of the things we can control is our own behavior and our own response. We can't control the pandemic or how fast the vaccine comes, etc.
thank you.
As far as women
Dr. Sheela Nambiar, you are the passionate woman for women's wellness, you know, and it was so wonderful. आपने इतनी शालीनता से अपना पूरा उद्बोधन दिया, उसमें इतना कुछ हम सभी के लिए था. आपका बहुत बहुत साधुवाद, धन्यवाद. I wish to ask you that we women are all born managers. We are always juggling our roles, whatever the role we have to play in life. All of us are doing it, whether we admit it or not. Men are also doing it. Hello. But women do it more. Sheela, Dr. Sheela, do you agree to this one?
absolutely, absolutely.
So, I wish to know what tips can we have for women's wellness in an integrated manner. Their physical health, their mental wellness, and emotional happiness to lead a stress-free life.
Neeta, I think Mr. Shivkera has already mentioned, how important it is to be self-disciplined and so on. It actually boils down to just that, prioritization and self-discipline, which means prioritizing ourselves as well.
Absolutely.
It's all very well to look after the family and that's our role and that's our duty. But I think self-care is extremely important. Even if it means just taking a few minutes off from your hectic schedule to breathe, to take in the sunlight, all these little things really matter. And then to nurture our friendships, nurture ourselves, eat well. By that I mean eat healthy, not eat a lot. These things are extremely important. And they're little things. They don't need to be big things. So, yeah.
So, and I loved your nurture your relationships. I love that one.